Yo, it's 2018, just about 2018, so Happy New Year everybody. Okay, I'm going to do a demo comparison between an SH-01A, the boutique, and the SH-101 original. So it'll be antique versus boutique. And what I'm going to do is just go through, to start with, I'll basically do some demos. I'll make some sounds that I'd actually use in a track. I'm not going to sit there and do these standard waveform demos like this is a square wave on this and this is a square wave on that and this is the sawtooth. They are as boring as batshit and they don't actually prove the characteristics of a synth, I don't believe, 1 minute. So what I'm going to do is actually make some real sounds that I would use in a track, and basically then make the same sound on either of the synths. So first of all I'll make a sound on the 101 and then replicate it on the 01, and then vice versa, and I'll go backwards and forwards doing that sort of stuff. And I'll also mention a few things about what the new boutique can do that the 101 can't, because there's quite a lot of new features. So yeah, without further ado, let's go and have a listen. Let's go. Okay, so the first thing you notice is the display here. The display gives you a load of options. You've got a menu here. I'll go through that later on, but what I'm going to do is just tell you exactly the obvious differences. On the 101, you'll notice the difference is you have yellow topped switches here. Now, all of the switches on here, all the slide switches at least, are just basically micro slide switches. They're not the big things that you get here with the cap on the top and stuff. You know, they need to get this within a space, so this is what they've done to cut it down, and that's fine with me. A switch is a switch and it does the job, so that's fine. These here are actually potentiometers, even though they feel like switches and look like switches. I had this discussion on one of the Facebook pages, I believe, some time ago within the boutique group, and I was like, no way, there can't be potentiometers. So I took my synth to pieces and I had a look. Lo and behold, there it is, a potentiometer. I can't remember if it's 100k, 10k or whatever, but it's definitely a linear potentiometer that they've used with indents or detents or whatever you want to call them. So all of these switches, so first off you've got the differences here is you have on the LFO you have a saw and a ramp extra additional to the standard waveforms of the LFO. You can also change the rate of this to high rate, to almost go in the audio range. You can't control it with the keys or anything like that, anything fancy, but you can certainly make this a lot faster than the original. As standard, it's just the same as the original, I believe, and you know. Next up is the Vco Range. You've got an extra 64 feet, so you have got an extra bit there. But then, having said that, if you use one of the K25M keyboards, you're missing an extra 7 notes that you get on the 101. So basically that's makes up for it, really. You know, in fact it gives you an extra octave below, so you actually get more out of this, a few notes more. And that's it for this. This is all the same. You've got your source mixer, your sub oscillator's got 1 octave down, 2 octave down, and 2 octave pulse. So you've got 2 octave square and this 2 octave pulse. The pulse isn't linked into the pulse width modulation, it's just a straight pulse, which is about 25% pulse wave. And then the rest of it, as we go on, everything's just the same. And that's about it really for the actual looks of things. The gate on the 101, you have a gate in, CV and gate in, but you don't need it with this because you've got MIDI and you've got USB. The 101 doesn't have those, so you know, you can make this do all of the stuff one way or another via MIDI, CV and whatever. And you know, yeah, okay, you get these aficionados who say, yeah, CV and gate's faster and that, and to be honest, I've never really noticed that much difference, and when it's in a song you certainly don't notice the difference. It's fine. And I think that's about it. Other than that, the other things on here is one of my niggles with the boutique range, and it's always been, is the fact that you don't actually have a proper power socket. Now there's an issue with USB noise. Loads of people have experienced it. I've done videos of it. There are workarounds and stuff like that, but yes, there is a noise issue, and it might be country specific depending on whether you've got 3-phase, 2-phase mains electricity. I don't know what is actually causing it, but it is a problem. And it seems that regardless of it being a problem, Roland haven't yet made an isolated USB hub with individual isolated USB sockets that would actually run the whole range. There's nothing like that from Roland. So, and there's no socket on the back. Now, if a socket costs 50 cents, 50 pence, you know, whatever the currency you're using, it's minimal, you know. It's the price of a soft drink in a candy store. I will pay that extra to have that on there, you know, a real socket. I don't like using USB. I certainly don't run the synth via USB. I only use the USB to power it. I use MIDI and I use the audio because I've got a huge studio. So, well, a big synth collection and massive mixing stuff and yeah, loads of gear anyway. So, I don't really want to have USB going into, you know, all these USB. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work. Plus, the other thing is I get no benefit from it anyway because I'm using an older Mac and the Mac doesn't run the latest operating system. If I got the latest operating system, other gear in my studio wouldn't work because I've got older gear and blah blah blah. Anyway, I have my reasons for not using the USB for audio and data. It only is power. That's it. So basically it's MIDI in and out, and then I've got the output. And that's really it. So yeah, again, Roland, listen, if you are listening, please, 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 on your next boutique, on your re-release of the next range of whatever, please give us a power socket, a proper power socket. You'll even sell more power adapters that way, you know. Think about it. Think about it. For the price of those little power sockets, you're going to then make, you know, recommended Boss power supply, PSA 230, PSA 120, or whatever the country you're using it in. You know, Roland, if you would put those sockets on, people would buy the specific adapters for it, and you'd make a lot more money. I really can't see why you're not doing it. People are complaining about this noise. I've complained about the noise. I've tried to make a solution. I've managed to get there. The best solution I've made so far is by using an Apple plug, but not everybody has these. So that's my workaround, is to use this. I've tried all sorts of other ones, and yes, you cut down noise. This works the best. So if anybody is having these issues, this works the best. And forget plugging it into a computer. Use MIDI and use an interface and do it that way, because this USB thing, it stinks in my opinion. But that's my opinion. Anyway, on to the actual synth comparison. Now, I've got no bias over these, and the reason being is because I paid the same for this as I did for this. A little bit of history with this. This was sat up in some guy's attic since his 13th birthday because he decided he liked guitars, and it sat in the attic. He put it up for sale. At the time, they were worth about 300 and whatever pounds, and that's what I paid. And that's what I paid for this. So there you go. I paid the same for that, and I do not have any bias. I've had use of one of these since the 80s. So you know, my brother had one, my friend had one. I can't remember if I don't think I've had one until recently. You know, my friends had them and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I had use of them. I've borrowed them and stuff like that in the past. But that's a different story. So no, I don't have any bias whatsoever. This is going to be an absolutely unbiased review, and I really want to try and see if I can actually replicate the sounds backwards and back and forth, and see if the replicated sound has that grunt that you'd expect from an original synth. I don't know whether it does, I don't know whether it doesn't, because I haven't actually compared them yet. This is my first time. This is, you know, I've not done like checked them out and then started recording a video. This is absolutely straight off the cuff. So here we go, let's make some sounds. First of all, I'm going to make a sound on the original and then I'm going to replicate it on here using the same settings. Now obviously the faders are longer on the 101, but I'm going to try and replicate them as best as I can, and obviously I'll tweak them until they are as identical as I can get them. This is a what 30 something years old synth, so I'm not expecting the capacitors to be holding up as well as the chips on this are replicating, so this will probably sound closer to one of these when they're brand new. Now this is actually in really good condition. It's never been played really until I got it, so you know, it was literally put in the attic as soon the guy got it, and it went in its box, went into the attic, bought a guitar, and that was the end of that synth. Came out of the attic years later, a few years ago, and it became mine, and that's it, and there you go, the rest is history. So here we go. I'm gonna compare the two right now. So I'm gonna make a sound on the 101, then I'm gonna make a sound up on here. I'm gonna have no EQ settings, no reverb, no nothing else. It's just gonna be exactly as it is. I'm gonna try and keep the levels exactly the same, so they're, you know, there's no making the original louder, because loud always sounds better, yeah, you know. So no, I'm going to make everything identical as possible, and I will be trying a range of sounds. I'll be trying to do stuff, and I'm also going to try and do some of the stuff that this can do, extra things. Well, I'll come to that later, but let's first of all compare the two synths. Let's go. Okay, so I made a sound on this, then replicated it on this, and guess what? They're the same. Well, they sound the same to me. I can't tell any difference. So now I do have the velocity switched on this, and I can't remember how to switch it off, but I will get it off for the next demo. But they are the same. There you go. It's more or less, I mean, the thing is, obviously there's going to be a slight discrepancies in the controls. They're not going to be exactly identical to that, because I've just sort of top down and view and stuff like that. But yeah, to me that sounds just like the same. So if I go into high transpose, that's got a faster clock rate. I can hear that now. Couldn't hear it before. So that sounds to me the same. I don't know about you, but it's the same to me. Okay, so next I'm going to make a sound on this and then replicate it on that one. And maybe I should use a little bit of resonance and see how that works. Let's go. Okay, so this time I've made a sound upon this and then I've replicated it with this. So let's go. The LFO needs to be a little bit faster on that one. This one seems as if it hasn't got as much sub. Wow, actually the original sounds less grunty than this. Now that, you know, I'm going to get loads of flack for that, but it just sounds like it's got more grunt, you know. Okay, right, I've sorted the velocity. It's menu here, and then you hit 4, and then you've got all the different things here, and velocity's right there. So there you go. This one doesn't. There you go, there's another thing. So I don't know if it's anything to do with the way that I've set this up, but I've got the pulse width at the top. I mean, most of the controls on this are hard up or hard down, so you know there's only a few that are. I mean, the envelope sounds like it's the right shape, and you know the mod's down. The keyboard is just below the top on the 101, but that's not going to affect the fatness of that sound. We're into the 2-octave down pulse. Maybe the volume. Yeah, so that sounds, they sound like each other. Okay, so I'm going to do one with a bit more resonance. Let's get some blips. Blips are always good. Let's go. Okay, so I've just stuck with that very sound. All I've done is whacked up the resonance on both. So they sound the same. That at high resonance sounds the same. So let's drop out the oscillators and let's close up that envelope. Okay, I'm going to take the keyboard down, keyboard level down. Ooh, so right, I've got frequency at the bottom. Right, so I've got a higher, so when that's set down, it sounds like it's a different filter level. Sounds like that's lower, slightly lower. It's probably a calibration thing with this. let's close that down. I like that. But then okay, I'm going to do that with this. I'm going to do the envelope down. So envelope at the top, resonance at the top, envelope at the top, resonance at the top there. I actually like the sound of that when it comes to blips better than that. The SH has always been my favourite synth for doing blips, you know, since me and my friend used to do like electro stuff in the 80s. We'd always use the 101 for the blips, and that just seems nicer. This one seems nicer. Okay, well, what should we do next? What should we do next? Right, let's do some 70s drums. I might as well just leave it rolling. Okay, so frequency down, resonance up, envelope somewhere up there. Sounds nicer for a kick as well. I'll tell you something, I don't know how much more of this video I'm going to do. I'm going to close up about with the sounds. There's your sound demos anyway, so you can get loads more, but I'm really favouring this. I think this one's going to get boxed back up chucked in the attic for another 20 years and see what it's worth then. So yeah, bye bye Mr. 101 and hello Mr. SH-01A. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is run through a few of the things that this cannot do, because this has got loads of features. This is even 4-note polyphonic. It's got a unison mode because it's got 4 voices built in. So let's see what this does. It sounds a bit like a Juno, but I shouldn't give the secrets away. But yeah, this is awesome. This already is awesome, and this is bye bye. This is going straight in the attic, or you know, if somebody wants to give me the rip-off price of £1,200, they're welcome to. And it's boxed with a modulation grip. It's all yours, take it away, because I've got this little baby. Right, okay, so next up I'm going to do this little demonstration of what this can do. So let's go. Okay, so I was just looking at the extra features that the SH-01A does that the SH-101 doesn't, and one of the things is the white noise, which actually on the SH-101 sounds more like pink noise. So if we go to menu 4, you've got NSND. I don't remember exactly what that means, but you've got original, which is just your standard, and then you've got a typical white noise. Compared to the original SH-01A. So there you go, there's one other feature. The other one is the LFO rate. If we go back into here, which is system menu, menu system, so there's your noise LFO. Now let's open that up. That's your ramp wave. There's your sawtooth. You've got that, you've got the square. That's normal speed, so you've got your LFO, original speed, and then adjusted speed. So you've got lots of more scope with that. And that sort of thing you wouldn't get out of a 101. So now let's see what other features we've got here. Menu 4, so noisy LFO, tune, I'm not going to go into that, that's a channel sync. Velocity sensitivity, which I had switched on, so I'm going to put that back to on, which is, you know, preferable for me because I like to have a little bit of dynamics. Would be nice if that linked to the filter, and this has been said again over and over and over. There's been a few videos, Sonic State mentioned it, and none of the boutiques, basically, you can't assign the velocity to the filter on any of the boutiques. Now, if anybody's a Vince Clarke fan, velocity filtering is absolutely essential if you want that sound. You can't do it. It's got the capability to do velocity, but it doesn't link it to the VCF, which is a real shame. If only they would just add that feature, just have velocity on 64 128, and then have an extra one for filter. You know, just an extra little thing. Just assign it to filter. That's it. That's all you need to do. Simple firmware. it can be done so easily in firmware, but obviously it's closed source, so this is not going to be done by, you know, this can't really be altered by anybody other than Roland, unless you're really good. But I don't think anybody's going to really do anything like that. Maybe they might not, who knows. You know, there's other closed source software that's been hacked, but to be honest, I'd rather leave it as original. I'd rather leave it in the hands of Roland. But please, if Roland, if you are listening, you know, chuck in velocity filter, you know, on all of the range. You know, just give us a little update. Just flick that switch. Just say, right, route that to the filter. Route this, add an extra button. Route that to the filter. Velocity to the filter. That's it. Simple. You know, just chuck us that, because that'd be amazing if we had that. Really, really, really. Anyway, but that's that. You know, maybe they'd have to do that, and then they'd have to do one that's velocity and amplitude as well. So, okay, so really that's it then. Next up, I'm going to show you the polyphonic side of this, and show you the Unison and a few other tricks that it can do as well. So in the menu, you hold menu down. You've got these flashing lights here. So you hit 1, you've got tone, so you've got presets. You've got presets. This doesn't have presets. The 101 does not have presets, as most people that have used or owned a 101 will know. Presets, loads of them. I believe there's 128. Well, there's T1, so it's 8 times 8, so 64. It's got, what else have we got? The pattern memories. So you've got pattern 1-1, you've got 8, so you've got loads of different patterns on your sequencer. So your sequencer is basically the same. I believe, I haven't used a sequencer yet, so I'm not going to go into that. Someone else is going to have done a video about how to use a sequencer and stuff like that. If you're interested in it, go and search for a video, because there should be one out there. So I'm not going to go there, because that's not really what I'm looking at. I'm looking at comparing the sounds and comparing the features. And yes, I know the sequencer's a feature and stuff like that, but yeah, let's hold the tone down. Let's go for 3. So you've got the mono assign, you've got Unison, so that's pretty strong. Now I really like that. The only thing is, it doesn't have a detune for the Unison like my Jupiter does, and that is a real big thing. So Roland, if you're listening, implement in a later firmware, give us that detune, whatever it is, whether you hold the button down and move the tempo, just give us a little bit of play with that. I mean, don't go ridiculous, because Unison's quite a sort of tight thing, you know. If you go too far, you lose everything, and it just sounds like it's out of tune. But that could be a good thing if you're experimental. So, you know, I'm sure people like Aphex Twin will be quite happy with that sort of feature. But then they'll probably just use about 5 of these 101s. So you know. Anyway, so Unison, you get a really fat sound out of that. That's something that the 101 will never do, a sound like that. Yeah, and so what a difference. Polyphonic. So yeah, it's polyphonic, and then you've got chords, so you've got chord memory. Now, why have these lit up? Does that mean you've got variations of the chord? Ah, okay, so that, right, so you have your bass note. Where's your bass note? So that would be here, yes, no, 6. So let's say there, let's say just there. Okay, and that one octave, so that's really easy to program, really easy. So you just hold the button down, the last 3, the bass note is always going to be it's going to be C, so you only have to do the other 3 notes. It's a 4 polyphonic synth engine, so you only have to do the last 3. So you see root note is always going to be the same, and then you just add the other notes to however you want it. So I tell you what, I wish I had one of them in 1992. I could have rocked some tunes out with that. Yeah, that's really nice. So what does 5 do? Is that's just telling you, so you can just have 2. Right, okay, this is really intuitive. It just makes so much sense. So basically you're switching off and on. There's your root note. There's that, and then your octave. So what you could do, you could have, say, this one as -12. This one as, no, let's see if it, no, it won't span any further than that, so it's just your -12. Maybe if you've got a MIDI keyboard rather than the boutique synth keyboard, you could probably do this. So what I'll do, I'll leave that one out. You've got +12, you've got 0, -12 and +12. Compared to so that is really, really powerful. Okay, this what else does this do? The clock, I believe it doesn't do the LFO, which neither does the 101. The LFO is the clock rate, you know, that is the. But yeah, this doesn't seem to. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be. I mean, there'll be firmwares and stuff like that. So all of these sort of little features, they might not do them now, but they might do them in a later firmware. I remember realizing some features on the other boutiques, the original, the first 3 that came out, and they didn't really advertise them in the manuals, but you know, and then I sort of found these features, and it's like, it's sort of, you know, after a while it was common knowledge, and then, you know, people then commented like 6 months or a year later, oh yeah, we knew that. Well, it wasn't known at the time, you know. But so all of these sort of things, it does the chords. These are the big ones, and yeah, I'm sold on this. I don't know if it's because of the colour, and for any of you who are going to make comments on that, that's the sort of sense of humour I've got. This is Flipping awesome. Get one. Get one. If you've got a 101, get it, sell the 101. Or do what I do, keep the 101, chuck it in the attic. Maybe it'll be worth loads, maybe it'll be worth nothing, because these are so good, you know, and people want these. Okay, I think that's about the end of the video. So yeah, right, I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, there you go. So thank you very much for watching, and Happy New Year and everything. Okay, bye bye.